Hey everyone, welcome back. I'm Michael and we're going to be getting right back into some more Reddit stories. If you enjoy the video, make sure to leave a like and subscribe. Now, without further ado, let's begin. This story was posted by a user named Scared Barber in the relationship subreddit. The post is titled, "I don't know how to support my GF in her passion that she's terrible at." We've been together for almost 3 years now, and for the most part, the relationship is lovely. However, there is an increasingly large part of her life that is causing issues. Writing. My girlfriend always tells me how much she loves writing. Though she does not write professionally, it has always been a hobby of hers, and it is one that she takes a lot of pride in. She has even started to write some rough drafts of a light novel recently, and she enjoys every second of it. The problem, her writing is the worst I have ever seen from someone our age, bar none. Now, I do not claim to be a good writer whatsoever. I have seen plenty of fantastic writing, and I am well aware that I could never produce anything remotely close to that. In general, though, I am at least able to write at a competent level. It is not perfect or great, but it gets the job done. Her writing, on the other hand, is incredibly difficult to read, even at a basic level. Punctuation seems random. There are paragraph-long sentences without a comma in sight. Tenses change repeatedly in the middle of a thought without warning. The vocabulary never exceeds a middle school level, which causes the entire piece to read like a 7th grade English assignment. To clarify, she is a native English speaker, so this is not due to discomfort with the language itself. The content is also meandering, seemingly jumping from one idea to the next with no rhyme or reason. Again, if you were to read it, you would assume that a preteen child wrote it. I do not mean to spend this much space belittling her work, but I feel like I need to emphasize that this is not just an issue of personal preference, it is really as close to objectively poor writing as you can get. Further complicating the issue is the fact that she is extremely proud of all her writing. She talks repeatedly about how she is a writer, and claims that it is one of her greatest skills. She has turned it into a major part of her identity. She constantly asks me to proofread pieces of her novel, and I do not even know what to do. I have tried basically rewriting the whole thing, and I have also tried being more hands-off. When I do the former, she seems genuinely hurt, asking me what was wrong with the original draft she showed me. When I do the latter, I feel like I am essentially lying to her about one of the things she cares about most. She loves to show people her writing, and I feel incredibly embarrassed when she does. I can see their confused expressions as they give her a cursory, "Wow, this is great," which she always takes to heart. She is an incredibly kind and loving person, so no one in her life can bring themselves to tell her the truth, knowing it would shatter her happiness and self-esteem. And the biggest problem of all, she is going to be self-publishing her work soon. If someone buys her novel and leaves a review, she will be devastated when she reads it. I have tried to subtly hint that maybe she should learn more about grammar and punctuation just to make her writing even better. I have told her that reading more might be a great idea and perhaps she can learn some new words to use in her novel. But whenever I bring up these ideas, her interest is practically zero. I have no idea what to do here. Some days I just want to be honest with her and tell her that she should really learn some fundamentals of writing before trying to publish something. But at the end of the day, I just want her to be happy. I feel like no matter what, she is going to have to face this truth, whether it comes from me or from someone reading her novel and giving an honest review. How can I support her while not supporting her misconception about her abilities? User York100 said, "Direct her toward a writing class or writing group. It can be a fun way to pursue a hobby, and along the way, she might be fortunate enough to receive some honest criticism. She will probably also encounter some equally poor writing, and that might serve as a wake-up call for her." User BinkKit said, "She needs an editor. Real writers, professional writers, have editors. Maybe she needs to start the search for hers. Either they will help her produce something saleable, or they will tell her the harsh truth. Either way, the responsibility isn't on your hands. Just keep being supportive." User AHDriel said, "Unless she tries to quit her day job to become a writer, what is the harm in leaving this alone?" To this OP said, "I am just worried about this all coming to a head and her eventually finding out, either through a book review or from someone else finally being honest, about just how bad her writing is. It also makes me feel like I am deceiving her a bit by constantly agreeing with her about how skilled a writer she is." This last post was made in the relationship advice subreddit by a user named Prof Sussy. The post is titled, "My partner won't let me sleep and I don't know what to do." First off, I will say that I have sleep issues. I find it very difficult to get to sleep and stay asleep, despite taking medication for it. When I finally do sleep, I snore. I have tried so many fixes for this, nose strips, adjusting positions, and speaking to many general practitioners about it, but nothing has worked. I cannot control it. My partner has taken to, instead of rolling me over, losing his patience and kicking doors open, yelling, screaming, and hitting the bed to scare me awake. This started a few months ago and was initially infrequent, but it has now picked up and is happening multiple times a week. I am now having an even harder time getting to sleep. Bedtime gives me so much anxiety. My body feels like it is on a hair trigger now. I wake up at the slightest noise and never fully drift off anymore because I'm just expecting to be woken up in an extremely aggressive manner. I feel like I am at the end of my tether. How do I get him to listen and just let me sleep? I mean, it's ridiculous to be scared of going to sleep when your partner is home, isn't it? I don't know what to do anymore. I cannot just up and leave him because he is totally dependent on me financially, and I do not have anywhere else to stay. We live paycheck to paycheck. It's not like I can just sleep somewhere else and still support us. He is so angry all the time now, and I do not know how much longer I can be around him. I just want to be left alone to sleep in peace. More than a year later, OP gave us an update. I have never made an update to a post before, so I am not sure if I am doing this right. Please let me know. I posted well over a year ago now, closer to 2 years at this point, about my sleep snoring issues causing aggression from my partner. Some people seemed really concerned for me in the comments, so I felt the need to update just to let people know I am okay. So, to update, not long after the post, I sat down with him and explained how upsetting his behavior was, and he changed it. We aired our grievances, did some reflecting, and realized it was unsustainable. So, we implemented changes, and it worked. Isn't it wild how communicating can fix problems? A lot of people wanted me to dump him and leave, but we have been together for years. I wanted to give it another try to see if we could find a solution. The first change was sticking strictly to separate sleeping areas, and sleeping separately helped so much. Seriously, we are so much better rested in our own spaces, and our sleep routines are not being disrupted by each other. Also, we have fun sleepovers with no sleeping. Haha. Sleep deprivation was making both of us incredibly stressed out, and we were not handling it well, him in particular. I have reached out to my general practitioner since then and am currently on a waiting list for a sleep study to confirm sleep apnea, which is not ideal, but at least there is movement there. I love the National Health Service, but do not love how long these wait lists take in my area. He also started therapy soon after my post, and we found out that he is autistic, which we suspected before but did not know what to do about. He got diagnosed and really dove into resources on the topic, and we have both learned so much about how to deal with it. He has done a lot of work on recognizing and coping with being overstimulated and redirecting his anger into healthier outlets. He is now trying to get me assessed too. I will say something like, "Where are the scissors?" The way this thread is hanging off my sleeve and touching my arm makes me want to peel off my skin. And he will just hold up a book on autism and point at me, which is fun. As for our financial situation that I mentioned in my post, it flipped. He found a job and then I lost mine, so we are no better off on that front. But sleeping and as a couple, we are doing so much better. I want to thank so many commenters on my first post for helping me realize it was not healthy or okay for either of us. We are still working on it, but we are in a much healthier, happier place. Thank you. User Ally Marie said, I am autistic and have been sleep deprived before. That has not made me resort to literally torturing my partner on a regular basis. There is still some severely problematic behavior being swept under the rug here. Edit, oh, for goodness sake, yes, I know the partner was also sleep deprived and that sucks. However, that is not an excuse to purposefully harm someone else. This was not a frustrated one-off incident in the heat of the moment. The partner was being abusive for months. There were many other solutions that should have been considered long before it got to this point. They could have slept separately sooner, the partner could have worn earplugs, or literally anything besides inflicting real torture on OP for an extended period of time to the point of trauma. Nothing excuses the partner's pattern of abusive behavior, which indicates far deeper problems than just autism. Quite frankly, brushing this off as the partner just being autistic is extremely damaging to the autism community. Today it is snoring. Tomorrow it could could be something else that sets off the partner into an abusive rage. User All the Hot Sauces said, I have never understood this communication save the day mentality that happens around here. This man thought being bothered was enough reason to abuse his partner. He simply explained, hey, I don't like it when you are abusive to me. And the partner responded, oh, my bad. They did not address how his partner is okay with treating a loved one so poorly and being abusive toward them. But I'm glad they were able to work it out and stick with each other after the abuse. This next post was made in the relationship subreddit by a user named I guess. The post is titled, I snapped at my boyfriend after being overworked at his local business for months. Now he's giving me the silent treatment. So basically, as the title says, I snapped at my boyfriend yesterday and now he is giving me the silent treatment. I will provide a little more context. My boyfriend has recently opened a coffee shop. He only had enough money for the opening costs and things like that, but he cannot afford to hire staff. Essentially, he opened this business without a business plan and with nothing else to fall back on, despite my advising him differently. I have a full-time job as an accountant and work from 9 to 5 from home. I try to help him as much as I can. I usually go every day from 6 to 11 or 12 to help him out, doing everything I can. Dishes, cleaning, barista duties. Mind you, I have never worked in a coffee shop before. My regular order at a coffee shop would always be plain black coffee, so I don't know much about fancy drinks, but I am trying my best to learn as much as I can and be as fast as possible. Apart from weekdays, I am off on weekends from my job, so I go to the coffee shop from morning until night to help. We also live together, so after I come home pretty late, I am the one who does the laundry, cooking, cleaning, and dishes. There are days when I stay up until 2 a.m. Then the morning starts again at 6 a.m. sharp. My boyfriend claims he cannot hear the alarm in the morning, so I have to physically get up and make him wake up so he can leave for work. It usually takes him half an hour to leave the house, and by then I have until 8 a.m. to sleep a bit more. Sometimes I find it impossible to fall back asleep, and by the time I feel sleepy again, it's time for me to get up. Needless to say, I am exhausted every day. I feel like a zombie who is just trying to get by. I haven't seen my family since March because I literally have no free time. The thing that really frustrates me is that during afternoon rush hour, my boyfriend gets very angry and says mean things if I make one mistake while trying to help him out. He hasn't said a single nice word to me or even thanked me for helping him try to make his dream come true. I usually try to remain calm since I know he's also overworked, so I try not to take all the mean things to heart. However, yesterday, while he was once again being mean and saying hurtful things, I snapped back in an angry tone. He told me not to ever speak to him like that again and then gave me the silent treatment. In the morning, he didn't even say goodbye and hasn't texted me all day. I feel like I absolutely don't deserve this behavior after everything I've done for him, and I am seriously considering breaking up with him. I have a steady job and can make ends meet on my own. Any advice? User Miss Incredulous said, so let's recap what you are doing for the business and the relationship. Holding down a regular 9 to 5 job, acting as his alarm clock, getting him out of bed, and even covering for him if necessary. Working another 5 to 6 hours for free at his job, where you are mistreated for even making one mistake. Then you go home and handle the cooking and cleaning in your shared home. I will try to say this as kindly as I can. You deserve better, and you need to let his business fail or succeed without you investing your time and energy into it. I learned the hard way that anything relying solely on me to keep it going when it is not mine means it was never viable in the first place. User Colorado said, if he can't afford to pay staff and wants you to work there for free as a volunteer, maybe he just shouldn't be in business and hasn't thought this through or planned it out enough. Let him fail and learn from it, especially since he recognizes that he went into this without a business plan. I would quit both the job and the relationship. OP left a comment that said, you're all so right, and I am very thankful for all the comments and advice. I was upset about the silent treatment, but now I see that it was a blessing as it truly opened my eyes. I felt ashamed to open up to my family about all of this because I know that if they knew he was berating me and that I was acting as an alarm clock for him, they would have dragged me away from this man a long time ago. For all these months, I have been feeling like someone else is living my life while I'm just watching from afar. I realize I really need to get my life together and leave. I just booked a weekend vacation with my family as we speak. I am not going to the coffee shop today. If he doesn't want to talk, neither do I. I'll come back on Sunday. I'll start looking into new apartments as soon as possible, pack up my things, and leave. Update. Well, this is not the update everyone expected, including me, but I was diagnosed with a breast tumor. I'm not going to go into details, but I just want my experience to serve as an example for others out there. Please put yourself first. Health is no joke, even if you think you're young and won't be affected by anything. It's a cliche at this point, but stress truly affects you in very negative ways. Wishing you all health and happiness, and please find love within yourself. This last post was made in the AITAH subreddit by a user named Fearless Hornet. The post is titled AITA for not forgiving my dad for what he said. My dad is really into cars, and his dad is also into cars. My grandpa used to work in a mechanic shop, and my dad learned to work on cars with him. They can talk for hours about different car models and engines and share stories about the cars they've worked on. I am not really into them. My dad tried to get me interested in fixing up cars with him, but it just doesn't click with me. I know basic things like how to change a tire or oil and how to jumpstart a battery because he taught me, and I'm glad for it. However, talking about cars and working on them for fun just doesn't appeal to me. I always thought my dad was okay with me not being a car guy. 5 months ago, we got new neighbors who moved in next door. It's a married couple, and their nephew Mason lives with them. Mason and I go to school together. At first, I helped show him around school until he got comfortable and made his own friends. He and I still talk, but we don't hang out much. Mason is like my dad and grandpa. He's obsessed with talking about cars and has a whole list of cars he wants to drive and own one day. He would come over with his aunt and uncle, and a lot of times Mason and his uncle would hang out with my dad in the garage. Sometimes I'd be there too, but usually it's just them. My dad usually works on his project car in the garage every other weekend for a couple of hours. For Father's Day this year, he said he wanted to be able to work on his car all day uninterrupted, which my mom agreed to. Whenever he works on his car, he leaves the garage door open. Mason has been coming by when my dad works on it for the past couple of months, talking to my dad and sometimes helping him out with smaller tasks related to the car. I don't really care. My dad does other things with me. But on Sunday, I went to ask him something when he was in the garage with Mason. The door from the house to the garage was open, and he and Mason were talking. I waited by the door for a chance to speak because I didn't want to interrupt their conversation. My dad was praising Mason for whatever he did. Mason said he had done that with his dad, and my dad told Mason that his dad would be proud of him. Then he said Mason is the kind of son he wanted to have. I don't know why, but that really hurt to hear. I never thought that my lack of interest in cars was an issue for my dad. I knew he still loved me, but I guess it's not enough. I didn't say anything and just went back to my room. He doesn't know that I heard what he said. Since then, I've been ignoring him. I still answer him when he asks me questions or tells me to do something, but I just don't want to talk to him anymore. He and my mom have asked me if something is wrong, but I lie and say no. I thought they would let it go, but a few days ago, I messed up and told my older sister what happened because she kept asking, and now she's not talking to my dad either. She's being much meaner to him about it, but I made her promise not to tell anyone the reason, so she's keeping her word. It's really tense in our house right now. My parents keep asking us why we're mad at our dad, but neither of us is answering. I feel like maybe I should just let it go and go back to the way things were. However, I really don't want to when my dad is disappointed in who I am. Am I the asshole if I don't forgive my dad? User writing Romance said, 30 years ago, in the heat of the moment, my dad yelled at me and called me a lazy fat ass. It actually still comes up in my therapy sessions sometimes. The situation was simply that I didn't want to leave the living room when my mom's friends were coming over. I locked myself in my room for 2 days and refused to speak to him. When I finally opened the door, he was devastated. He knew I was hurt and that his words were the cause. He did what he could to make it right, but I still hear those words in my head sometimes. Telling him isn't going to make those words go away, but expressing how it made you feel and giving him a chance to understand is the only way you'll start the process of healing from it. As others have mentioned, it may have been said to make the neighbor feel better, but that doesn't excuse the hurt it caused. Holding it in will only make your feelings and emotions grow. User Bitter Animator said, tell your mom if she brings it up to your dad, so be it. He needs to be held accountable for the words he spoke and the damage he has done. User Last Butterscotch said, I'd be devastated. Beyond words, devastated. I am so sorry. My dad's trade is mechanical engineering and he can talk shop with the best of them. Auto mechanics, heavy mechanics, motocross, literally anything with an engine. He's also the father of 3 girls, and even though I am the most similarly inclined, my interests go as far as Formula One and cool theoretical innovations. Not once have I ever been made to feel that he would prefer a son, let alone someone else's. Not speaking to him isn't a punishment, although you wouldn't be the asshole even if it were. I don't think I could look at my dad, let alone speak to him. You're feeling betrayed because you have been. To wish for another kid to be your son based on something as superficial as a single interest or hobby is embarrassing for him. I genuinely cannot respect your father. I'm not sure I could forgive my own even if he apologized. The fact that he said it behind your back as if confiding a great shame to someone he apparently wishes to be your replacement is just... Honestly, I don't have the words, but it is definitely completely unnecessary. He turned a perfectly acceptable compliment to someone else into a personal attack against you. I'd also be ignoring and resenting a parent who created a situation for either of my siblings to feel inferior. Your sister's reaction is probably pretty tame compared to what she wants to do but won't due to keeping her word and staying silent. Your mom is probably the only unfortunate collateral damage in this situation. If you tell her, she'll probably feel equally betrayed and let down, but leaving her in the dark isn't much better. She might grow resentful or feel like you don't trust her. Either way, you're not the asshole for your reaction and how you feel. Your dad sucks, honestly. I'm sorry you didn't get to choose a better one because you would be right to wish for a different father after this. Update. So I guess my post was put up on TikTok and my inbox was flooded with a bunch of new comments and direct messages. There are too many to read, but thank you everyone for telling me that I'm not wrong for not wanting to forgive my dad because it still hurts knowing he said that, regardless of why he said it. I got a lot of questions, but I'll answer two important ones. My dad did ask to be left alone to work on his car, but it's not because he didn't want to spend Father's Day with us. We had a special breakfast for him and we gave him his gifts in the morning. The incident happened in the late afternoon. My mom usually wants to be left alone to work on her art projects or read one of her books on Mother's Day too. It's not that they don't want to spend the day with us, they just like to focus on their hobbies without having to worry about household or family duties for a few hours. It's normal in my family for my mom and dad to give each other breaks or a day off sometimes. Another thing is that my dad didn't invite Mason to work on the car with him. He did tell Mason a while back that if the garage door is open, then Mason is free to walk in and chat. That's what Mason usually does. My dad doesn't talk to him outside of when Mason comes over by himself or with his aunt and uncle. I don't think my dad even has Mason's number. They're not really close, they just both like cars. I know most people told me to tell my mom or my dad or both about what I heard. I was kind of hoping the tension would go away and just be forgotten, which I know is dumb and unrealistic, but I really didn't want to have that awkward conversation, so I just kept quiet. Things got really bad today. My sister and I were still mostly ignoring our dad. My mom kept asking us a bunch of questions and guessing reasons why we were mad. I thought she had given up, but earlier today she said we were going to have a family game night tonight, which we never really do. I really didn't feel like doing that, but I was gonna sit there and just deal with it. However, my sister told my mom we wouldn't be joining if dad was there. My mom asked why, but my sister just said he knows what he did. So my mom went to talk to our dad, and about an hour later, she made us all sit down in the living room to talk. My dad was mad now. He told us that we need to say whatever is on our minds because now our mom is asking if we caught him cheating on her or something. She was running out of theories for why we were mad. To be fair, she guessed it right on the second day by asking if he had said something to make me mad or upset, but I lied and said no at the time. She said she knows it has something to do with me because I was mad at him first. So I finally told her what I overheard my dad say. My mom was shocked and my dad immediately denied it, which really sucked. If he thought it and said it out loud, he could at least have the courage to admit it, but he didn't. He kept saying he didn't say that, but I told him I know what I heard. He tried to lie and say that what he meant was that Mason's dad would be proud of him and that if Mason were his son, he'd be proud of the kind of person he was. That's a lie. He didn't say that. My sister got mad and told him to stop gaslighting me. Then they argued for a couple of minutes until my mom stopped them. My mom asked me if I was sure of what I heard and I said yes. I told her exactly what he said to Mason. Your dad would be proud of you. I know I would be. You're exactly the kind of son I wanted to have. I know that because I keep hearing my dad's voice saying it over and over in my head. I've been hearing it whenever I look at him since that day. My mom turned to my dad and started yelling at him for saying that. So my dad finally admitted it but claimed that I misunderstood him. He said he was just trying to make Mason feel better because Mason was sad and kept talking about his dad who died since it was Father's Day. He insisted he wasn't trying to put me down or say I was a disappointment to him. He said he was sorry and tried to hug me, but I was honestly mad that he denied it at first, so I didn't let him. My mom didn't accept his reasoning either. She said that Mason, his aunt, and uncle aren't invited anymore and that we're just going to be neighbors from now on. That's it. I feel bad because they didn't do anything wrong, but my mom kept going, telling my dad that he needs to stop spending so much time on his stupid car and start paying more attention to his family. He really doesn't spend a lot of time on it, maybe like 2 days out of the month for 3 to 4 hours. I think she was just really mad at him, which is what I was worried about. So my dad shouted that he'll just get rid of the car, then since everyone suddenly has a problem with his hobby. He left for my uncle's house after that, and I don't think he's coming back tonight. I feel really bad. I should have just let it go. I really want to, but I can't. If he hadn't tried to lie and had just said sorry, maybe I would have accepted his apology and this would be done. I'm not even really mad anymore. I just feel like a failure. I wish I could have been more into cars, then this whole thing would have never happened. Sorry, it's not a happy update, but a lot of people were asking for one. I hope he comes back home soon. Thank you so much for making it to the end of the video, and thank you also to partner of the channel, GamerSupps. Use code DLAM to support the channel and get 10% off of your purchase, link in the description. I'm sure many of you like me have a hankering for daily caffeine, so go check them out. Lately, I've been a big fan of Titty Milk and Acid Rain, but they've got dozens of other flavors for y'all to try out. Anyway, thanks again for reaching the end, and I hope you all have an amazing passage of the next 24 hours.